I don't know. For some reason, I'm optimistic, man. I know the market is looking all bleak, and things are not looking as. But as with anything, right, opportunities are always around somewhere. So I'm definitely excited to be, getting back in and jumping.
Yeah,
Do you want to take ownership of your financial future? Have the freedom to do what you want, when you want, and with whom you want? Welcome to the top, the Take Ownership Podcast, the ultimate destination for Black people who want to learn how to build wealth through multifamily investing. We believe that multifamily investing is one of the most powerful wealth building tools available to our community. Through our podcast, we demystify the world of real estate investing and show you how to use multifamily properties to create long-term passive income streams and build equity. Each episode features expert guests, real-world case studies, and practical tips tailored to Black investors. Whether you're just starting out in real estate investing or you're a seasoned pro, you'll find valuable insights and actionable advice that can help you achieve your financial goals. Join us on the Take Ownership Podcast and start taking ownership of your financial future today.
All right, welcome back, fam. Welcome back to the podcast. This is the Take Ownership podcast. Your man DB here with my man Jerome. What's going on, man?
man, abundance to you, brother. We making it. Can't uh, can't complain. Just trying to grind through with this capital raising and try to make it happen in this multifamily space, man. How
I
about you,
feel
man?
you, man. The same old thing, man. I'm also on the capital raise part. Right now I've been sort of away a little bit on the business. So I'm excited to sort of get back in, reconnect with folks, and that's what I feel like I've been doing right now. Starting to go back to a lot of my networking places, get
Okay.
back in touch with brokers. Matter of fact, I was just talking to a broker not too long ago, sent me some deals. So very excited, looking forward to jumping in, analyzing, see what all that stuff takes me. I don't know, for some reason I'm optimistic, man. I know the market is looking all bleak, and things are not looking as. But as with anything, right, opportunities are always around somewhere. So I'm definitely excited to be getting back in and
Yeah.
jumping.
Start getting connected. I'm not mad at that.
Yeah, man. So today, I figure what we do is we kind of talked a little bit about this, off air, together as far as what we're going to do today. Wanted today to be a master class on broker outreach and also broker communication in general. So that's really the aim of this podcast today. This is episode number 4. If you just join us, consider subscribing, definitely share. Even if you don't subscribe, share and just let people know, because what we try and do is, demystify this whole apartment investing stuff. So if it's your first time, go ahead and share with other folks, like it. And if you consider subscribing, that'd be cool as well too. So come join us and see what we're building together. So
Yeah.
all right, so what I'm gonna do is, as usual, we kind of go over what's happening in the market. I know we were looking at a few articles earlier with AI and stuff like that. Let's see, I got one of the articles that I might touch on. I don't know if you want to touch on the other one.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I'm looking forward to both of these topics today.
Yeah.
AI is always the ever changing and important discussion to have. It's like it's one thing I always had some trepidation about is content, and
Mm,
I had something to say, and then boom, that was taken care of with AI. So
absolutely.
no reason not to have some important content out there.
Yeah, man. I don't know if you've been keeping up with the latest news. This isn't really, real estate, but it's, it kind of hits our our environment, so the whole Supreme Court, ruling with the affirmative action. So I was actually listening to I think a YouTube podcast or something like that, and they started talking about, this whole thing, right? And people were, as usual, news comes out, you have reactions. One side is this, the other side is that. Some people are really happy, some people are sad, some
Right.
somewhere in between, some don't even care. So I was really curious. I was listening, and the guy was talking about uh, some article that he read. So I went to look into it. Right, it was about a young girl named Abigail Fisher, right? And she applied. This was in Texas, so this is around your neck of the woods, right? Everything happens in Texas, man. All Florida.
Everything happens with so much adventure in Texas.
Yeah, man. But I thought it was I thought it was interesting. So the young lady applied to I think it was the University of Texas, and she didn't get in. That's a young white woman, right? She applied, she didn't get in, and she filed a lawsuit, because her claim was that she was better qualified, but she didn't get in than a lot of other folks that that she thought got in who were not as qualified as her. But what actually ended up happening is when they went to look at the real results, it turned out that that really wasn't entirely the case, right? It looked like for her scenario, for the state that she was in, Texas, the amount of openings that were available for in-state went like automatically to like the top 10
Uh,
students who were in the top 10 of their class, right? So she wasn't in the top 10, so she didn't go into one of those groups, right? So that meant she basically had to fight for the whatever's left, right? For the little bit, I think it was like 10% left at that point, right? So as you can imagine, that's a lot of people trying to fight for the same area. So what ended up happening was she wasn't able to get into that. And what they ended up finding out was that there were people who got in front of her, right? There were of the people that got in front of her, whose score results were not, higher than hers. It was about five of them, right? Five were Black or Latino, but 42 were actually white women.
right.
So what's actually interesting is like when you think about it, she was thinking that all these Black folks got in front of her, all these Black and Latino folks got in front of her, but the reality is that's really not the case, right? It, and that's what I always talk about with data, like, things can really be, people can make things shake up a little bit, as they want it to be. And then the other thing they also talked about was that there were of 168 Black and Latino who actually have better scores than her, who also didn't get in.
Get in, right.
Really, but it was just one of those interesting things to hear because you hear the conversations and about what affirmative action is, what it does, but the reality is I don't think, especially based on what I saw with this article, I don't think it does what people always think it does. Where everybody thinks, oh yeah, all Black people just getting in. You can have GP of 1.1 and they getting in ahead of me, but that's really not the case, right? So,
I think since its inception, people have hijacked affirmative action as the scapegoat for why they didn't do this. And like everyone kind of becomes the victim of some kind of injustice.
yeah.
But when you look at the just the nature of this country is like I can't have conversations with people that don't understand that this country was built on a structure of race. Like race played a part in how this country was built.
Right.
Things like affirmative action gets put in place to try to correct it. And I mean, colleges used it. Some of them didn't. Some of them used it as a loophole. So, but like you're right, the narrative can always get hijacked with any kind of data, and then somebody plays the victim, and then boom, you got something. I think colleges that are going to embrace this new ruling by the Supreme Court, they probably never really truly tried to have a diverse student body. So
it's very possible. Yeah.
I think that's why we exist in this space, man. I'm so happy to do this podcast with you. So instead of the victim blaming, we just kind of took ownership and
yeah, man. I'm glad we touched on that because stuff like that definitely hits our community, and it's always important to kind of touch on it and see what's going on out there. because we don't exist in a bubble. We don't go out and just buy an apartment in a bubble. You're gonna have tenants. You're gonna have to deal with, brokers. You're gonna have to deal with lenders. You're gonna have to deal with your tenants, right? And
Right.
it's you from all walks of life, and it's important to have that mindset
Of
where you're
course.
not just in one box and you're always just thinking, well, things only happen in this world, things only happen in that way, right? Because that's just not a reality of life. So,
I love it. For
so
sure,
let's
man.
jump. What's up?
I was saying for sure, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Let's go ahead and jump in this. Let me share my screen. Let me know when the screen comes up. Bam. So a few weeks ago, when we first kind of started with the podcast, right, one of the things we said is, we're here to demystify and educate as much as possible. So any topic that we kind of touch on, we might touch on it lightly, but over time, we're going to come back, just go over it and just, dig through a little bit more, whether it's with the expert or just with us. And, just letting you know how we do things and what you want to do, getting started. So today is sort of going to be not sort of, today is going to be a master class that Jerome and I are going to be doing on broker relations. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to tell you exactly what we do so that you don't think there's any sort of secret out there that, when it comes to this whole apartment process. So first thing we want to do is tell you exactly how to start off. So this is called broker relationship, right? Broker outreach and relationship. You want to maintain this. So the first thing you want to do is you want to create an account on these two platforms, right? So you want to create an account on Crexy.com. I'm already logged in. You want to create an account on loopnet.com as well. And generally speaking, it's really, kind of the same thing, right? So why do you want to come here? Well, there's kind of items that we are buying, the properties that we are buying. These are not properties that you're going to find, on Zillow.com or find it on, Redfin or something like that, right? That just doesn't work that way. These are commercial properties. So if you want commercial properties, there are two main places that you're going to start off with, and one of them is Crexy, the other one is LoopNet. So for Crexy, really, again, come on, create an account. Obviously, we're not going to go through showing you how to create an account because it's pretty simple. You just put in your email, things like that, and you create an account. Once you have an account, you can log back in, and really, all you want to do is, by this point, you really should have an idea of where you want to, buy. So for you, Jerome, like how many markets did you pick?
I'm only going to invest in the Houston MSA, which is the Houston city limit and surrounding counties, about 5 or 6, 7 counties around the Houston
Gotcha.
area. So the MSA stands for Metro Statistical Area, and that pretty much hits a pretty large terra firma of area to invest in.
Gotcha. So, that's one of the first things you want to do is you definitely want to pick a market. You don't want to be one of these people that, you say, oh yeah, I want to be in Baltimore. I want to be in DC. I also want to be in Houston. I want to be in whatever, right? Starting off, that's just not going to be helpful because the amount of deals that you can potentially get, I mean, we're talking hundreds, and you can't sit there and try to analyze
All right.
hundreds of deals while at the same time being knowledgeable on multiple areas of you know demographics. It
All
just
right.
doesn't work that way. So pick your place, pick a location, pick a Houston MSA, pick whatever. As you can see here, my MSA is DC and Baltimore area. So as you can see, there's always searches out here for it, right? So what we can do is I can just walk through and just pick some random place that I've also invested in before. So let's just say first you want to do narrow down. We do multifamily specifically. We don't really do retail. So I'll just come and pick multifamily. Don't really right now. Oh man, a phone call is always coming in, man.
Busy man, busy man.
So right now I'm
You'll be a broker, pick it up.
exactly right. Might be that's another lesson, man. When you start getting a lot of those spam calls, if it doesn't say spam, you gotta pick it up and see who it is. You never know what kind of deals coming your way, man. But Yeah, so I don't really do student housing per se. It doesn't mean that I would never do student housing, but I know what I do. I do apartments.
Mhm.
Right now, I don't really care. I can leave it as is. It's really up to you. But in starting off, I would say limit yourself to exactly what you want, which in this case is going to be apartment investing. So pick the apartment building. And let's just say I want apartments in Jacksonville, Florida, right? That's what I want to invest. So
Mhm.
pick it, search it, look for whatever comes up. Right now it says five, whatever, right? If I put in a larger area, not Florida, Jacksonville itself is large, but I'm only saying the city of Jacksonville, right? I'm not saying the surroundings and stuff like that. But so anyway, I picked this, and let's just say I'm scrolling through. I'm a brand new person, so most likely I'm probably not looking at the 9 million one, but maybe I might look at it 16 unit. That sounds very plausible. It's on price. You're gonna find stuff like that. That's no big deal.
Mhm.
It just means the brokers didn't put a price on it. But over time, when you can ask the broker things like, remember we talked about cap rate, and then we talked about
NOI.
right, exactly. When you combine those together, you're gonna be able to come up with the proposed price, right? But obviously, what you want to do is eventually you're gonna reach out to the broker, and we're gonna talk about that later. But so overall, really, what I'm trying to stress is you pick this, you look for the brokers that you want to get in touch with. Let's say I'll click on this one, and then what you want to do is you want to click and try to get information. Now, typically, whoever put in the broker is gonna have their details here, right? So you can click on that pop, that something's gonna pop out, and then you're gonna go ahead and write a message to them. Now, this
Mhm.
way you gotta get creative, right? You don't want to just say, "Oh, hi, Colleen. I saw your stuff." No, you want to be a little more creative because a whole bunch of people might be reaching out to her, right? So what you want to do is you actually want to write a personalized, email or message to this person. So if I were you, what I would do is I'll hit up ChatGPT, just bring it up, ask ChatGPT, hey, and here, this is very generic, right? It's general, so it's just going to give you stuff, right? But and look how big it did, right? So the format is actually pretty decent. Now it's a little bit long. You definitely don't want to be sending something like that, but here we can actually see some of the stuff that it's doing for you, right? You want to tell that individual, Colleen, for instance, hello, Colleen. You want to detail who you are, right? So I am Derek Bonsu. What am I looking for? Like, what is my current? First of all, you want to sort of go over your experience, right? What's my experience? I've bought properties in the past. I continue to invest. I do short-term rentals. I do this, I do that. And what are you trying to do now? Right? Because you want to give them an idea of what it is, who you are, and what you do, right? And then
Right.
after that, you can jump into things like what are you looking for? What's your buy box? And it's
Mhm.
why it's really important to come up with your buy box. So for you, what was your buy box, sort of starting out?
Yeah, no, starting out, I wasn't clear on my criteria. So when I reached out to brokers, it was just so ambiguous that they probably brushed me off.
Mm,
But now I mostly hit on grade, the MSA that I'm investing in, and purchase price are kind of my three main areas that I focused on. So just
yeah.
having a clear criteria is important, and size, unit counts also. So
Yeah. No, that's perfect. Yeah. So, as Jerome said, if you come out the gate introducing yourself, that's great. But if you don't tell them your buy box, as we call it, you are essentially leaving yourself open for one, not getting the response that you want, or two, just getting everything, right?
mhm,
And as we just saw, if you start now, chances are, yeah, you might be able to handle this 2 million property, this 60 unit. You probably not about to do a hotel, right?
mhm.
And maybe the people that you hit up, that's all they do, right? So now they're gonna be sending you hotels, right? But I recall when I first started, I reached out to folks just like I'm showing right now, and I told them my buy box, but additionally, I also told them what properties I wanted, And it, I had calls from people who are trying to sell lots, who are selling new development. I'm not ready for new development, right? I wasn't ready for new development, so I didn't want anything like that. But that's
Right.
what you're gonna get, right? If you're not specific and you don't tell them what they want, you don't tell them what you want. Well, how are they gonna know what you want? They'll
Yeah.
just everything they have, right?
And it's a balance between trying to sound like a know-it-all and being authentic at the same time. So like be authentic, but don't, I think that's why you have to build up your knowledge, is you can't you can't demonstrate that you know it all, and then when they hit you back with something you don't know the answer to, it's like, oh, humming, 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 humming. So it's like that balance that you got to strike.
You hit the nail on the head, man. Because one of the things you don't want is to come out the gate, hey, this is Derek. I bought hundreds of units. I see that you have this, motel. This is literally my first time, right? I see that you got this motel for 9.7. Call me up and let's have a conversation. They'll call you up thinking, oh, this person knows exactly what they're doing. They bought hundreds of stuff, right? They
Yeah.
ask you about, yeah, so what kind of, cap rate you normally do? Is cap who's cap who? You know, right
Right.
there, they're like, okay. And then they're probably gonna start throwing dumb stuff. They're gonna start. So yeah, this thing has an NOI of 100K and the purchase price is 100 million. So you think about that. If you're right there, so you're like, well, I guess that sounds okay. You know,
Let's
so
go.
yeah, you're gonna right away, they're just gonna realize that's not the kind of person I want to deal with. And brokers are not your enemies. Brokers are there to make money.
For
Um,
sure.
just like you and I. So, they're just humans, treat them the same way you want to be treated, and you should be good to go. Now, that's
And
not to
just
say
know that they are there to get as much as they can for that seller. So
that
keep
that's
that in
something that you have to keep in mind. As much as if a broker might be your friend, um, that at the end of the month when the broker's bill come, you are
mind.
not the person paying for it.
Right.
So
Exactly.
just keep that in mind, right? We always got to have that perspective, right? So, what I would do is if I were you starting off, what I would do is, I'll try to look for as many of these out I'm looking for. And of course, here you can put in whatever areas you want to look for. So for me, like, for instance, if I wanted to do the Houston area, right, I'll click that and put that in as well. And then let's see that number just get blown out of the waters, right? So went from 5 to 50. Now, one of the things you want to keep in mind is that for the Jacksonville, we only saw 5. Does that mean there's only 5 properties out there on the market?
No.
Not at all, right? So the reality is these are good places to get started and get conversations going with brokers. But what's going to happen is when you do get in touch with these brokers, you're not going to get dropped into one of their own funnels, right? And then they're going to start sending you deals that come up because they have their own platforms. But this is more of a everybody's platform where everybody can go to, right? They don't have a Zillow type thing going on, right? So this is their version, right? So
Right.
they put stuff up, but they don't put every single thing out. And sometimes some of these things might even be outdated, right?
Exactly.
So just keep that in mind. But you do want to reach out, and then they'll get back to you, and then you can start to have that conversation, and you can start getting more of that stuff going.
Love
So
it.
let's move on. And I don't really need to go on LoopNet. Really, it's the same thing. The only difference here is that LoopNet does more than just sell commercial property, right? They sell businesses and stuff like that. So really, that's really the only difference. So you just have to come to this, put in the property type like we did before, multifamily, and once again, just type in wherever you're looking for. So in this case, Jacksonville. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, just put in Jacksonville, Florida, and once again, and then you'll get in all the stuff that comes up, and everything is pretty much the same. Matter of fact, you can see this unit right here, same one right there, right?
Yep, yep.
Yeah, same unit, so same broker, same idea, right? All right, so let's say we've gone ahead, we've done our initial communication, and now we start receiving deals. What do you want to do, right? First thing you want to do is you want to try to analyze this deal as soon as possible. Obviously, you've got hundreds of deals coming, you're not going to be able to do that. And that's why, starting off, you definitely don't want to be doing hundreds of stuff, right? You want to get a decent amount of deals so you're not just sitting there empty. So you want to be able to analyze these deals and get back to brokers. Really, ideally, 3 to 5 business days, you want to get back to them because one, other people are going to jump on stuff, right? And you don't know what a great deal is yet. And two, if you don't get back to someone who has sent you something, that just implies I'm not interested.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, what's the motivation for that individual to keep sending you stuff, right? There really isn't, right? So you want to try to get back to them as possible.
Right.
Yeah, when getting back to them, I'm going to give you a few things that you want to definitely ask. You always want to ask for sales comps, unless of course they already included in the OM, the operating their manual, right? So if they already included, then no, you don't have to worry about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Offering memorandum. If they already include that, then you don't have to worry about it. But if they don't, you want to ask for the sales comp. And obviously the reason you want to know is you want to know whatever sales the price they're giving you. For the instance, if they tell me this is 3 million, and yeah, I've looked at other stuff in the area, but I don't know what anything is sold for. And if it turns out everything around the area has been selling for 1.5, well, you better have a reason for how this one is this for a comparable thing, right? So you want to
Right.
ask sales comp. And once again, multifamily isn't like your house next door that just sold that pretty much everybody knows what it's sold for, and depending on the state, right? So
And again, you can, oh, my bad, you can
no,
reverse
go on.
engineer. Yeah, I was just going to say, you can reverse engineer if with your sales comp that's kind of just doing due diligence and finding the NOI of a unit that's nearby and seeing what the cap rate is and then coming up with a purchase price as well. It takes a little more time, but there's ways to getting around if you don't have that information, and it just kind of builds your expertise once you start learning the game sort of.
I like that. Yeah, that's definitely a good strategy to see like what is there, and like you said, also building your own wealth of knowledge so that within a certain area, you just know when someone says this is 3 million, you like you can roll your eyes or you can be like, oh yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah, I like that. Other things you want to ask for, something like the cap rate on the property that's being sold, right? If it isn't already there. The reason you're kind of doing this is not because you don't necessarily know, but you want to get an idea of what is going through the broker's head when they put this offering memorandum together, right?
Mm-hmm.
It gives you a peek into their marketing. Why do they think that this is this way, right? Because oftentimes brokers will embellish, right? Because I'm selling something.
Right.
Um,
The cliche, trust but verify
yes,
always.
sir. Yes, sir. Trust but verify. The other thing you want to do is if there's anything that's unusual, obviously that goes without saying, right? You want to ask for. But the last thing I would say about analyzing and getting back to a broker is that you always, always, always get back to a broker, no matter what. Even if it's the dumbest question, you get
Mm-hmm.
back to them because you want to continue that conversation. And if you can keep those communications, guess what? You are one of the people the broker is going to reach back out to when the seller change their mind. So always
Right.
keep that communication going.
Right. So
Yeah.
there's always like a pipeline of deals and a pipeline of money. So how you communicate with the broker, that's something I had to learn because I would be so dismissive when I didn't see that it was profitable, but then I had to go back and explain why I thought in an email or a phone conversation or a text. And then that kind of builds that relationship. And it's almost like marketing all over again. So that's a key, very key element, very key skill to learn that feedback is important.
And I think even similar to what you said before, that also builds your expertise, right? Because with the
Right.
broker, right? Because as you coming back asking these intelligent questions, they're realizing, okay, this person knows what they're doing. They know what they're buying. I'm not going to be able to just sell them anything.
Right.
Um,
Right.
and as a result of that, they have a more professional conversation with you, right? So that's very key.
Sure.
So now, so we've gone down the pathway, we got in touch with a broker. brokers sending us deals. We're going back and forth with communications. So what are some of the things you want to do going forward, right? So one thing that I would do is I would drop the broker into my CRM. For those of you that were with us on our previous podcast when we had, our friend over, right? That, CRMs are, you got to have them, right? So starting off, as I said before, if you didn't hear me, you can start off with just Google Sheets with some names of the brokers and things that are going on, but very quickly you're going to realize that you're going to outgrow that, especially when it comes to keeping a lot of information on people, places, deals, and things like that. So, but yeah, anyway, try to get a CRM, even if it's a cheap one, drop them in and start that communication, right? Because just like they market to you, also want to be able to market to the brokers, right? So if I were to drop a broker in my CRM, what would I do, right? I would send personalized email to the brokers. That's one. In the personalized emails, some of the things that I would do is I will recall, similar to the same way brokers do. I will recall things that I've recently bought, right? Brokers typically send you things that they recently sold so you can see how they do business. So I will send them things that I recently bought. That gives them an idea, oh, well, Derek just bought that 100 unit over there. When I have a 50 to 100 unit, I know that I should really be sending this guy because he just closed. He has the potential to close, right? So that also keeps him abreast of that knowledge about you. So that's something positive that you can do. The other thing that I would say is that if you are also happen to be in the same general location as your broker, it definitely is not going to hurt for you to go to lunch, breakfast, whatever, whatever you like to eat, right? Have some conversations because, this is a people relationship building process, right? So you got to build as much relationship as possible. So,
Right. And then just staying on top of mind is how you get an edge with any
absolutely,
business. So, what better way than to personalize it, like going out,
absolutely,
having something to eat.
yeah,
So
yeah,
that's a great point,
yeah.
especially for
Um,
introverted people like me that that don't like being around people. So,
yeah, and that's cool, right? But and what you're gonna find is in any field, probably there
mm-hmm.
are introverts, and so you could run into another broker that is very, very similar to you in terms of personality, right?
Right.
And you two mesh well, and going to that lunch just brings out that additional, um, you
Yeah.
know, additional relationship building, right? So the additional trust, right? Um,
Exactly.
one of the last things I am going to say is you want to be able to network with people, right? So you can't just go on Craigslist and just maybe the 10, 20, 30 brokers you see, and then you kind of done, right? You want to be out there networking in your local area, because as you get out, you're going to see more people who may not necessarily put certain things out there that are not easily seen. So definitely make it a mission to sort of network, go to meetups in your local area, and chances are you are going to run into other brokers as well, and you can make that pool
Yeah.
uh, brokers a little bit wider. Yeah.
Not gonna hurt.
Cool, cool. Yeah, so that's really it. Like I said, this one kind of short and sweet, but it's a good way to figure out how to get started, because a lot of people don't know, where do I even find this? Do I go to Zillow? Do I talk to my realtor that helped me buy my fam in my single family home? Stuff like that. So like I said, get to Cressy, LoopNet, create an account, send them a personalized email, begin that communication, tell them what you want so they know what you want, build that relationship. If possible, drop them into your own CRM, right? And then start feeding them some of the other stuff. One thing I don't want to forget too is that if you are in a market that is pretty big, so here, there's like 50 units that we found, 50 results that we found. So not overly large, but you could be in a market where it's showing, 200 or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in that scenario, you may want to invest possibly in getting someone else to do it for you. So, if you got young children, who are tech savvy, you can get them to do it. If you got virtual assistants, that's another possibility. If you got someone who's just sitting at home, doesn't have anything to do, that loves to get online, you
Yeah.
can get them to do that as well. So that way you're not just sitting there clicking on a bunch of names and sending people stuff. So
Yeah. I'm with it. And then it's kind of shout out to Crexy and LoopNet, but then you start to actually get on their drip on their website where you can get more personal, or they'll send you deals from their actual business. So as
absolutely.
long as you stay on top of mind from that, it can grow. But definitely use LoopNet and Crexy as the genesis of building those relationships.
Indeed, man. All right, for fam. So that's gonna be it for episode number 4. Take Ownership Podcast. We're here to demystify, educate the community as much as possible. So if this is your first time joining us, I said in the beginning, consider subscribing, like the video, share the video if you like the stuff that we're talking about, so that we can get out there and educate more folks.
Sure.
So what you got? You got anything to end off with, Jerome?
Again, just hit us up. Again, I'm only investing in the Houston market. It's the market I'm comfortable with. Avery and Ivory Capital website, Avery and Ivory capital.durable.co. The
Yeah,
longest,
man.
that's what I'm trying to break the record for the longest website.
Yeah, you're almost there, man. You're almost there. I've seen longer, man. I've seen some long ones. That's one of those things. Maybe one day we'll talk about, and along with just getting involved with technology, AI, and using all those things together. But if eventually you want to start building all that stuff in the very, very beginning, you don't have to do it.
Right.
And that's something I probably want to stress to people starting out. So you don't want to be overwhelmed with, oh yeah, I need to get this website. I got to get this CRM. I got to do this. People were making deals before CRMs were ever a thing. People were making deals before websites were a thing, right? But at the same time, we are getting to a space where some of those things, one, are either because of AI or just because in terms of technology, they're a little bit easier to get going.
Yeah.
So you don't have to have that same deficit, right? These days, you can get on I don't know, one of these Upwork or Fiverr, and someone can create a website for you for like $10, $20 or something, right? It may not be the best website, but it will probably be good enough, something better than what used to be in 1995. So, right.
Just to get it cranked up, man.
Yeah, man. But yeah, so as for me, if you want to get in touch with me, DB, email is hello@acobincapital.com. And of course, you can go to the website itself, acobincapital.com, and I'll drop the link as usual in the description. As always, it's good having you guys join us, and hope to have some more conversations.
Yeah. And our next show, we got to see our origin stories. How'd you get that website name? I'm interested.
Oh man, yeah, we can definitely touch up on that, man. We'll touch that.
Save that for the next episode.
That's episode. Dun, dun, dun. All right, man.
Yeah.
All right, man. See you guys later. Peace.
Later.